Sort of genesis of the film Paris Was a Woman was that I mean I had known about through the second wave of feminism, feminist scholarship, even before earlier than Cherry Benstock even, like even when I was in high school and college, there was a reclaiming, a celebration of say Gertrude Stein, Alice B. Toklas, a little bit of Sylvia Beach. I didn't know Adrienne Monnier. Of course, Genet was still writing for the New Yorker magazines, but I didn't know that she was a central part of this lesbian subculture that, you know, was part of the actual founding of modernism in Paris. I didn't know that. But a friend of ours, Mark Finch, was an English friend, was working on Channel 4 Channel 4 was a new television station. They were specifically mandated to tell stories of they were funding independent production companies to tell stories that weren't being told on mainstream television in England. Wow, that's like an amazing idea. That's nowhere does that exist anymore in the world. So Mark wrote to us or called us or whatever. I think in those days you picked up the phone and talked to someone. And he said, you know, we want you to put in a proposal because this is we want you to, you know, do something. So we wrote this little proposal about exploring this topic. And it wasn't selected. We didn't do it. But it got us thinking a lot about it. And then, so we were able to get research funds to go and actually do the research in the archives in Paris and in the Beinecke Rare Book Room where Gertrude Stein's papers are. And then we, of course, the Women of the Left Bank, the Sherry Benstock sort of seminal book, and then Kate Stimson's work on Gertrude Stein. All these things we started, it was just we loved the story, and it was such a great story, and it was was so sexy and so empowering. So we started to do the research, and it became very clear. It became clear very early on there was way too much for just the movie, and Andrea wanted to tell more in other stories that she could go more into in the book. So I became the director of the film. I may have been the director from the beginning. I just can't remember. And Andrea was the so she did most of the research and the writing of the book and the writing of the film. And then that's interesting. It's this question of mentorship because it was not really fashionable at the time that I made that film to include any experts' historical perspective. You were just like supposed to almost put a contemporary spin on the past. But I was very conscious of the fact that I almost called her Adrienne Rich, Catherine Stimson, who is the founder of Signs, and Sherry Benstock, who wrote Women of the Left Bank. Did I have any other experts in that film? I don't think so, just those two. I really wanted to acknowledge that it was their original research which rekindled an interest in this period and acknowledged the importance of these women at that time. So I put them into the film. And that was the one criticism I got. That was the only thing that people criticized about the film was why did I put these historical experts in? And I was like, because I felt they also, in the same way that these women were lost to history, I wanted to acknowledge that without the work of Catherine Stimson and Sherry Benstock, then my work wasn't possible. That was so important. It still is important for me to acknowledge, you know, what builds on what my identity, what my work builds on. Things don't come out of a vacuum, you know. So that was important, and that was a really fun movie to make because you really got to go into the lives of these people who you really almost felt like they were old friends. Mm-hmm. You felt like I felt like I knew them by the end of the movie. Mm.